you guys both are. I've not read Demons yet, so you guys know a lot more about that. And the thing that really fascinates me is the prophetic elements, not just in Demons, but also Grand Inquisitor chapter in Brothers Karamazov is very prophetic. So Tristan, let me ask you first, like, give us a little bit of overview of that book, what it's about, and then we'll go over to Mark in terms of his analysis. What are the themes that we want to pay attention to in Demons, and what's I know it's a lot because you've done 2 podcasts. Yeah. I want to remind everybody to go to Tristan's channel. You can see his Demons breakdown. But can you give us a little bite-sized nugget?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'll do the fun size Demons analysis. No, I mean it's one of my favorite novels that I've ever read. Right? I mean I've finished it. I digested it really slowly. It's a big novel. I mean, it's something like maybe 800 pages long, and there are sections in here that are just so scathing and beautiful in the critique of kind of the same themes that he's critiquing in Notes from the Underground to a certain extent, but he goes even further, right? So the character of the underground man, the clerk in Notes from the Underground, he's this bitter man who kind of lives in this basement dwelling and is constantly dwelling on all the problems in the world, and it's always everyone else's fault, but he's just really battling with himself right now. That enlightenment rationalism that he's dealing with is expanded on in a book that analyzes 2 different generations: a generation of the liberals, like 1840s liberals.
You called them the 1800s boomers, didn't you?
The 1800s boomers, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a generation of Jordan Petersons raising a generation of baked Alaskas.
Okay.
Right? You got these liberals who are raising reactionary nihilists who are just hell-bent on destruction. And it's a beautifully written book. It's really funny as well. I mean, there's serious subjects, and same with Notes from the Underground. Notes from the Underground it's kind of a difficult read, especially the first section of Notes from the Underground. It's kind of hard to read. Demons flows better. It's conversation based. It's there are a lot of different scenes with characters discussing their worldviews, discussing events in their lives, and it really is. It's a story of generational strife, of generational clash, and a story of the root of like the spirit of revolution. Really, it's an allegory for the revolutionary spirit. And it's a historical novel in many ways, right? Because as we were talking about in the beginning, Dostoevsky was involved in these revolutionary circles. In the Petrushevsky circle, there was this like inner group, and there's this guy Speshnev, and Speshnev was really interested in like Babeuf's Conspiracy of Equals, and he was obsessed with Barwell's book on the Jacobins, and he had been essentially like initiated through literature and possibly other routes, because again, this is a noble. Speshnev was a wealthy landowner, basically a spoiled brat who never worked a day in his life, like all revolutionaries, and raised by liberals who, we believe in truth, but yes, but no, a little bit of God, but not that God, but yes, no. Their parents are these lukewarm liberals, right? And the children grow up to be full on just like demonic
demons, right? Goblins,
demons, right?
Yeah.
And there's not, and now the book is called Demons, but it is one of the best books, I think, one of the best like psychological novels that I've ever read. Probably the best psychological novel I've ever read, and also it's a psychospiritual novel, right? Because the book is titled Demons.
Are you saying it's psycho-spiritual, like in the way that old Matthew says, a psycho-spiritual spirit?
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
There's not an actual demon in, there's not like a Frank character, right? There's not like an actual demon in the novel. All the characters are influenced by.
Yeah, well, I want to say that there actually, when I was reading Crime and Punishment, I felt like there was a section where he was actually verging on saying that either Raskolnikov or the guy who's like the Molester molester guy. I don't know why I just said it if I spelled it out, but I think he actually hints. Yeah, I think at one point he actually hints like that he was possessed. Like I remember distinctly getting really I was so into the novel. I remember like it was really affecting me at a certain point in the story when it's like, oh, this is like a demonically possessed guy. I think I have a note on it, but go ahead.
With Dostoevsky, just real quick, the wall, like the barrier between this world and the other world, is very thin. Demonic phenomena are just kind of right below the surface, and it's very ambiguous. But if you but you can see it, you can sense it. And in demons, it's kind of it's not explicit, but the characters act as if they are possessed. And I think the traditional, the classical Orthodox Christian concept of that is that the demons attach themselves to the passions.
Yeah, exactly.
And from there, they're able to, gain a foothold in people. And,
and I love how he does it. He doesn't do it in a corny way. He doesn't do it in a weird, preachy way. There's not a character. There's not like this single, omniscient, righteous character in the book. There are redemption. There are kind of character arcs that have redemption and even embracing Christ, but it's done in a way that's not corny and preachy. Like he handles it well. It's classy, right? But yeah, the demons permeate the story, and there's a lot of, it's always it's very subtle, but then you'll see there are threads throughout the novel. Like he'll use this term, their eyes flashed. That one happens a lot. His eyes flashed, his face contorted, right? Like these small contortions or small facial expression changes. But then he really...
Stavrogan, his expression is but his face is a mask.
I love the way that he describes Stavrogan. And then Pyotr Stepanovich and his manic behavior, and he becomes drunk on his own perceived power at times. You can just see him lashing out manically, trying to get characters to do his will. While he's telling them that they have free will, he's cursing them for deviating in any way whatsoever from his will and his revolutionary kind of conspiratorial thing that he's trying to bring everybody into. But I highly recommend anybody who's interested in this, read the book. It's a big one. It might take you a month if you have a job and stuff, but it's well worth reading. It's better than anything on Netflix, I'll tell you that.
Mark,
or you could also check out my last two streams. They're about a month long in actual length too, so it will also take you a month to get through those streams and me talking about demons. But it's definitely one of my favorite novels. I think the way that the characters are developed, the nihilists coming from the liberals, and also the way that the conspiracy that they get involved in works is historically accurate, hauntingly prophetic as well, as far as like what happens later on, 50 years after it was published in the Bolshevik Revolution.
Mark, there was something that I wanted to ask you that you highlighted in previous podcast, and that was the issue of the sort of prophetic nature of the utopia being built on millions of skulls. Dostoevsky's going to have this insight into what this revolution will bring about. 2 decades or so, 3 decades. I don't remember when it was written, but it was many.
Yeah, he wrote it in the 1871, 72, somewhere in there, and and then the Russian Revolution, about 50 years later. So so Dostoevsky was absolutely prophetic. That's what's so great about this novel, Demons, is that it's very multidimensional and multi-layered. So you have this organization of revolutionaries. It's very conspiratorial, but it's also they go into the theory of the revolution and the implementation of their utopia and how they're going, the praxis of their ideology. Yeah. And it basically amounts to total freedom for the revolutionary elite. So around 10, like 1 out of 10, and then for the other 9 out of 10, complete slavery. They'll serve the elite, and they will be basically automatons in a kind of technocratic panopticon, more or less, where there's complete surveillance.
So does it actually get into like those technocratic themes?
A little bit.
Okay.
He talks about totals. He talks about total surveillance.
Okay.
It's the technocracy in Demons is more implied.
Right.
By Shugalyov, the theoretician of the revolutionaries.
Well,
and by Verkhovensky, the Pyotr Stepanovich, who is he's the revolutionary son, and he is just, you know, pure Machiavellian. Everything's based on expediency, and so it's kind of this demonic rationalism.
Yeah, there's explicit reference in Crime and Punishment to utilitarianism, and utilitarianism, Bentham is who is involved in this idea of panopticon, and that's formative for technocracy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't allusions to that.
Notes from the Underground, he does mention that, you know, the technocracy. He says we'll have like an algorithm that'll determine everybody's.
That's right.
Yeah, he says that, you know, there can be. He calls it a we can have a logarithmic calculation that will calculate to whatever 111,000 decimals, and everybody's whole life can be calculated before they even live it.
Right.
And that's in the first novel we talked about, Notes from the Underground.
Yeah, total planning, total control, and complete slavery for almost everyone besides this. And we got to keep in mind, like, Dostoevsky was writing at the same time as Nietzsche, so there's also the concept here of the Overman or the Übermensch, the Superman, who has total freedom, and that was also in Crime and Punishment.
It's big, yeah, that's big in Crime and Punishment.
Yeah, and he developed it further here in Demons. So, you know, and he's very explicit. He says, you know, I think the number was like 10 million. He says 10 million heads. You know,
it was 100 million. He said 100 million.
Yeah, it was 100 million. Yeah, 100 million heads. We will build our paradise.
Wow.
On these skulls, you know. So, and lo and behold, there was, you know, the 20th century was, you know, full of this type of murder. So, yeah, it's pretty striking.